Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us today for the next webinar in our What's New series. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some brand new features that are coming up in the next few months. Now, don't feel like you need to make notes or take it all in straight away. We'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet later today. And also remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A box at the side at any time. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those as we go along, but there's also going to be some dedicated time for questions at the end of the webinar. So, onto the agenda for today. First up, you can ground Copilot prompts in SharePoint and OneDrive. New ability to dictate prompts and read aloud responses in Copilot. New Continue to Outlook option when you're setting up new meetings. How Copilot can help you prepare ahead of meetings. And of course, SharePoint Accessibility Assistant tools. And of course, again, what's next? It's good to see so many people coming back and joining us again, and welcome, of course, to all the new names and new faces. So for them, let's start with a quick introduction to Bedroq. My name is Craig Mundy, and I'm the Marketing Campaign Executive at Bedroq. You might even recognize my voice from other videos on our website or YouTube channel. Bedroq is an IT managed service provider and a Microsoft Solutions partner for modern work. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. So that includes things like Microsoft 365, MS Teams, Azure, etc. Now, we're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. So we work with organizations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK. We manage mission critical IT and operational technology for those highly regulated organizations. Now, the most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organization does, is to ensure that your IT strategy is supporting your business as a whole. And we do this with the help of our 8 strategic rocks that you can see here on the slide. Data, skills, backup, strategy, investment, security, quality of service, and collaboration. Now, the collaboration rock is the focus of this webinar series, as most of the Microsoft 365 apps that we're talking about are, in fact, collaboration tools. Now, many people we come across have invested heavily into their IT. They've bought all the apps and they have the best Microsoft licenses, but they're not using them to their full potential, and therefore not seeing the best return on investment either. So really, that's the aim of this webinar series, to keep you up to date with everything that's coming out and everything that you can start to implement that you've probably already got, and hopefully make a big difference to your business strategy. Right. So the first feature of the day that I'd like to discuss is the ability to ground your Copilot prompts in SharePoint sites and OneDrive folders and files. So what do I mean by ground? Well, simply put, it's a way of pointing Copilot towards a file or folder so that the documents can provide context and more relevant information for the response. Microsoft refer to this technology as Context IQ or CIQ, and they say that it is, and I quote, it's a set of AI capabilities from Microsoft that allows users to search for, select, and insert relevant enterprise or personal data directly into their prompts or conversations. This capability helps users to ground or anchor their prompt in specific contextually relevant data, making responses more accurate, specific, and useful, which all sounds fantastic. With this new capability coming soon, you'll be able to provide Copilot context using SharePoint and OneDrive folders, as well as SharePoint sites. So it's a fairly similar process to do both, but what I'll do is I'll talk you through the SharePoint and OneDrive folders first. As you can see in this screenshot, you can start to type out your prompt. So in this case, for example, we're asking Copilot to summarize the documents in this folder. And then in the chat box, you can see in the top right, there's a blue cloud, which is attach cloud files icon. If you click on that, then it will take you to a screen that looks something like this. From here, you're able to access all of your files And as you can see down the left-hand side, there are a lot of useful categories to help you quickly navigate to your desired file or folder. So that's everything from recent favorites, files that are even just stored on your device, to being able to narrow down your search by people, meeting names, and media types. Then just select whichever file or folders you're looking for, and then the Copilot response will use the selected documentation to form a more informed and detailed response. Now for the SharePoint Sites option. As I said, it's a fairly similar process. So again, in the Copilot chat box, you can start to type out your prompt. And then if you look at the bar at the top of the chat box, you'll see that there's several options, including sites, which I've highlighted with the red box there. Click this and you'll see a list of all of the SharePoint sites that you have access to. Simply scroll through the list and select the site that you wish to ground your Copilot prompt in. And then there you go. You'll hopefully have a well-rounded and thorough response using its documentation across the entire chosen SharePoint site. As always, you'll still probably need to take the Copilot response with a pinch of salt and read through it carefully. Actually, last month, I talked about a feature where I explained that Copilot now cites its sources throughout its responses. So if you missed that or missed any other features, make sure to go in and check out our website or YouTube to catch up on any of these. But basically, Copilot being able to cite its sources will work well in tandem with being able to ground your prompts with multiple files, as you'll be able to check its sources that it used for each of its answers. This seems like it's going to be a great update for those of us that use Copilot a lot, as I know it can be frustrating to have Copilot get stuck when it doesn't know the answer to a question, or it simply responds with something that is irrelevant or inaccurate. Copilot is always learning and improving, but it's still got some way to go. But as I always say, it can be a great way to get you up to speed on reading several documents or catching up with meetings that you've missed, and even used to break the white space on a new piece of work. Now, this feature in particular will be due mid to late February. Our next feature adds even more functionality for Copilot users. This is actually a bit of a 2-for-1, and if you use the first one, I can imagine that you might enjoy using the second one as well. So firstly, you can use the Dictate button to input your prompt into Copilot with speech. It looks just like that little blue microphone that you can see on the left-hand side there. So open up any Copilot chat window, say in Word or PowerPoint, and then just click on, find your way to the chat box part, and then click on that microphone, as I say. That will activate your system's default microphone, and then simply talk into the microphone and it will write up your prompt. Click send and Copilot will work away as it normally does. The second feature then allows Copilot to read aloud its response to you. So once Copilot has finished writing its response, just click on the little speaker icon and it will read the response to you. Perhaps you'll find these features useful if you find it easier or quicker to input information by speaking it rather than typing it. And being able to have Copilot responses read aloud to you might let you digest the information more easily than reading it. Or, I don't know, perhaps it frees you up to multitask so you can be typing up something at the same time as hearing the response, therefore potentially freeing up a little bit of time or even a little bit of brain power as well. I'm sure many of you here are used to using voice commands for things like your Alexa or Google Assistant, although other brands are, of course, available as well. So I'm wondering if sometime in the future, we'll be going hands-free and asking Copilot to summarize documents just with our voice without having to click into anything. Anyways, both of these features come as a welcomed improvement, letting you use Copilot more flexibly to suit your needs. Both of these are due sometime this month, and I was able to use the Dictate one in particular ahead of this. All right, on to our next feature, which is a simple one, but it's some nice quality of life, which if you've joined the webinar before or watched any of our videos afterwards, you'll find out that I tend to talk about quality of life quite a lot in this series because I feel that these sorts of updates, however small they may seem, improve the way that we can carry out our day-to-day tasks, which have a knock-on effect of making life just a little bit easier. So very soon, Microsoft 365 Business Chat will offer a continue to Outlook option within the chat to set up a new meeting. As a BizChat user, when you ask Copilot to help you schedule a meeting with someone, it will offer the option to take you straight to Outlook to continue setting up the meeting. And here you'll be able to change the details of the meeting and include any files or write up an agenda and add it to that as you normally would. It's just a quick way to smooth out the process of setting up a meeting. I know it's frustrating when you're being asked to find a time that suits several people with their ever-increasing busy schedules. So not only will BizChat help you quickly find timings that work for everyone involved, but it will also let you jump straight to Outlook to finish arranging the final details and set it up. It's just a nice touch to improve this process a little bit further. Now, I've not used BizChat for this function myself, but I will certainly be doing so when this update comes out. This one is due towards the end of February, so I'll be sure to keep an eye out for it and let you know more. So we're sticking with the theme of Copilot and meetings, and we've got a very useful update here that's coming again later on this month. Copilot will soon be able to help you prepare for your meetings with a summary that can include things like an overview, outstanding tasks, a recap of previous meetings, and even things like documents to read ahead of time. As a Microsoft 365 Copilot user, you will see a Prepare with Copilot button when opening the meeting invite, but only within New Outlook or the web calendar. This new button will appear for meetings with shared meeting related content and more than 2 attendees. Now, it's important to note here that this will only appear if a summary is available. And currently, it's not 100% clear really what the other requirements for the meeting might be, as shared meeting related content is a little bit vague. So perhaps it just being one in a series of meetings is enough, or simply if you have a chat or channel with similar names, or maybe even file names on your shared SharePoint, for example, if they are related to the meeting, then it will hopefully tie in. Now, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll be sure to check it out when it's released, and I'll let you know what I can find. Right, so what happens if you click that button? Let's have a look. So you'll get a summary that's generated like the one you can see here. Each summary is grounded, as I talked through earlier, in content that you can access. So this summary might be different for you than it is for some of your colleagues. In theory, if your meeting has enough shared meeting related content, you'll get a comprehensive summary to help you prepare with everything that you might need, from extra context or required tasks like pre-read documents, or anything that you might have missed from a previous meeting. Now, this will be a great update if the summary is as accessible as it seems, but that'll depend on these meeting requirements that I mentioned earlier. I know there's nothing quite like being invited to a meeting at the last minute that you know nothing about, so this feature will hopefully help you get ahead of the game before the meeting actually takes place. And furthermore, it'll save you some time in finding any of the relevant documentation as well. As you can see, it gets hyperlinked directly into the summary. So if we look in the red box, and you look at that second paragraph, tasks, there are 2 files that are highlighted in blue. There's a PowerPoint presentation and a Word document. And I'm sure it'll link all of the other Word related documentations as well in there. So this is one of those updates that if it is as easy as it looks, then it's going to be fantastic. But I'll probably hold my judgment for now, as I do worry those requirements might be a bit too specific to get as much information as you see here. But I hope that I'm proved wrong. As I say, this is due towards the end, late February again. Okay. Moving on to something a little bit different from all of those Copilot updates I've talked through already. So this is SharePoint, and it's going to be getting an accessibility assistant tool to help you create accessible content across selected web parts of your SharePoint sites. Now, this new tool provides automatic checks and brief guidance to help you ensure that your content is inclusive and accessible. So let's have a look at that left-hand screenshot here. The accessibility assistant icon will be available on the vertical toolbar on the right-hand side of your SharePoint page. So once you have some content on the page, you can click onto this icon and it will then open up the panel like you can see. Here, it will support and highlight any accessibility issues of 5 main web parts. So that's the banner, image, text, quick links, and hero. The green ticks let you know that a section has no issues from an accessibility point of view anyway. There might be plenty of spelling errors, but in terms of contrast and things, at least this is where it will highlight it. And so, for example, let's look at that left screenshot again at the image web part section. To view the suggestions and how you can address any accessibility issues, you can click on the hard to read text contrast button. This will then show you something like the middle screenshot. And the tool explains the issue at the top, and then it recommends several actions to address this issue. So from this panel, once you go and have a look at the issue and you go and change it or edit it as it might suggest, then you can click I fix this at the very bottom of that middle screenshot there. And this will tick off the issue on the list. However, if it's something that you're not able to or not willing to fix for, say, branding purposes, then you can hit the ignore button and move on to the next issue that's on the page. So hopefully, by the time you finish going through all of your content, you'll end up with a panel that looks a bit like the right-hand screenshot here, with green ticks all across the board. It's increasingly important in today's world for your content to be accessible. So be that for screen readers or the visually impaired or hard of hearing, that is, it should be accessible to all. So hopefully, by going through this process on something similar, going through this process through your SharePoint sites and seeing these sorts of issues that are being flagged, you'll be able to focus on how to make the rest of your content more accessible in other ways. So on your other platforms, on your website, it could be website or the graphics even for your social media. We just need to all make sure that we keep it in mind as we're moving forward. And it's something that Bedroq are starting to look into doing more and more as well. Okay, so a bit of a quicker one today, but that's all of the main updates for this month. I just wanted to quickly let you know about the next webinar in the series that will be coming up next month. And it's exactly a month away, so it'll be taking place on Thursday, the 6th of March. And you can register for that now on our website or through the link that my colleague's going to post in the chat box just now. We, of course, look forward to seeing you all there. And if there are any topics or questions that you wish for me to cover in the next webinar, then please get in touch with me and I'll be happy to have a look. That should be the link in the chat now. So if you want to make sure that you have the event in your diary, then please go ahead and register just now. Remember that all of these webinars are recorded and accessible through our YouTube channel and our website as well. So please make sure to have a look through them if you're interested in learning more. I'll now just quickly take you through our stakeholder workshop that Bedroq run, and it's called the 8 Rocks Assessment. So this goes back to the 8 rocks that I talked through right at the beginning of the webinar. This is a stakeholder workshop designed to get consensus on your business priorities. It can be conducted face-to-face or virtually, and it gets leaders and investors aligned behind the best way to fully assess your IT strategy. There are no cost implications with this other than a mutual investment of time. So if you're an IT leader at your organization and you need a bit of backup to prove to the CFO that you need to make an investment into your IT, or I don't know, maybe you're just looking at ways that you can better use your existing IT investments. Well, we're happy to look at all of these things. So just let us know if this is something that might be of interest to you, and we'll be happy to set this up. and we'll introduce you to the team that will walk you through this process. Okay, so now for that dedicated time for Q&A. If any more questions have come to mind, then please pop them into the box just now. I'm just going to grab a quick drink and have a little look and see what's come through. Okay, so we've got one that's come through asking, will the dictating function work with Coach with Copilot, for email drafting? In theory, I would imagine that the technology should just work across those. I'm afraid I don't know specifically, as it wasn't mentioned in particular. But what I'll do is I'll keep an eye on it. If I see anything coming up about it, or even while you're using it, if you keep an eye out, look for that microphone button and see if it works in tandem. As I say, in theory, I imagine it would work. They've got the technology there. We just need to add the button to it, but it's probably a little more complicated than that, let's be honest. Okay, so that is everything that's come through today. So we've had a super quick one today. All right, so if any more questions come to mind, maybe while you're looking through the fact sheet later today, then just please feel free to reply to that email that I'll be sending out with a recording. And I'll be happy to look at any of these queries about whether it's content that I talked about today or anything else that you'd like me to cover. We'll certainly look to cover those suggestions in the future as well. So again, thank you very much for joining us today, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Goodbye.